Okay, so I'm going to do the next step. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do little sections on there. So I will come back and get the other pieces in just a bit. But let's get ready to rock and roll here. So I know that I'm going to need some yellow. So I'm going to drop some water into the yellow. Definitely need some orange. I may need some brown. And then I may need some red. It's mostly the warm colors, though. I don't really see the cool colors in there. Although there is a rule of in color theory and that sort of thing. If you have warm highlights, you should have cool shadows. And what does that mean? That means if our highlight areas here are yellows and reds and oranges and stuff like that, in the shadow areas that we see back over here, that we see back down here where we come into those should probably have some cool colors in them as well. And by cool colors, I don't mean, oh, that's so cool. No, I mean like blues and greens and sometimes purples. That's what I mean by cool colors as we walk through those. So just keep that in mind as you forge ahead and are thinking about some of those shadow areas. Okay, so I was going to focus a little bit on this particular area over here. I wanted to see about the sections in here. One of the things I noticed when I was looking at these, the little sections, they have little light areas between them. And so I need to leave those light areas, either white areas or yellow areas or something like that, as I first start to try and work in those spots. And so that's kind of a deal that I'm working with. So as such, maybe the first coat that I really want to do in any given area is, I'm going to do this guy right here. This is just yellow. And I'm just going to fill that in and bring that up over here. And then this is just water because I wanted to dilute that out a little bit. And then, so that's going to leave me the yellow or lighter yellow side on that one. True, this is going to be more orangish in here. Okay, I'm just dabbing on my brush. I'm going to pull out a little bit of that more intense yellow. Kind of like that. And while I'm sitting here, on orange sections, since I want them to be, I kind of want to get them going on this sort of a thing, I'm going to do every other one, kind of like this. That way I can let this dry and I can be working on this section of orange while the other part is drying. Okay. Then once again, I'm going to rinse out my brush. I get all the paint out of it, dry it out, and then I'm going to pull out my extra little bits of yellow in here. Now this is mainly so that I can have the edges white. And I really need to only do every other one on that one too, but I'll probably end up doing them the same technique. That way they're going to be consistent on that. And so I'm going to let that dry while that's doing its thing. And then we'll go on. I'm going to pop back up here and review on the orange peel part of it here. This is just water, or mostly water, on this section. This one is another one that's kind of out of the way. Although it has a little bit of a yellow tint to it, that's okay. Yellow's still a very light color. And I'm going to take and I'm going to pull out the excess pigment and the excess water a little bit right here. And then I'm just going to come back in, and I think it was some oranges I had. I'm just going to touch kind of on the edge here. Notice how that's shooting it all the way across there, and that's okay. That's more than what I wanted. That's more than what I wanted. Remember, I want that mostly white. So once again, rinsing out my brush, and then coming in here and sucking out the extra pigment and the extra water. So I go through there like that. Dab your brush on your paper towel like this so you get the water out of it. Now you can come in and you can pull more of that water and pigment out. Now that does leave a little bit of the orange on the side, which is what I wanted in the first place. And now it's to the stage where this paper is probably mostly dry. Oh, it's still a little bit on the wet side there, huh? It's not spreading quite as far. That's not bad. That's not bad. And I'm going to pull out a little bit more pigment here. So once again, dabbing off the brush so it's dry and pulling out the extra pigment, leaving a little bit of orange peel, orangeness on the outside here. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more. Well, that's drying. So I got this drying, and I got this drying. I'm going to come over here a little bit, and I'm going to wet down this area. I'm getting a little close to the front now. But it's how you can utilize your time a little bit on making the things the way you want them. Because the wet into wet stages of your painting always do take just a little more time. Okay, so I got the pigment and stuff in there. I'm pulling out a little bit of water. Grab the water with the brush, dab off your brush. Okay, a little bit of yellow. Once again on the back side. Notice that didn't spread very far, did it? Yeah, that's not bad. And so I'm just going to kind of blend that a little bit. Now I'm going to try and pull a little bit out. So I don't have very much, I still want it mostly white. And then come in with just a touch of orange. I got some orange over here. And then just kind of touching it into the sides like that, little dots in a row. Notice it didn't spread very far on that one. That was pretty cool. I think I'm going to leave it about like that. I'm not going to pull any more water out of that. I'm just going to leave it just like it is on those. I think that one spread the perfect distance. And that's what you're measuring here is how far do you want your blends to go on those. That's kind of a deal. Okay, here's some more orange. I wanted it to be a little more kind of dabby rather than liney. So if I want a more dabby, I had to turn my brush a little bit. Now these are spreading just maybe fractions of some spaces here. And then I'm going to come back here as well. Oh, I like that. Look at that one. That worked out really well. As that paper started to dry a little bit more. I like that one better than this one back over in the corner. In fact, I like it so much. I'm going to come back and re-wet this. Because that was too hard line. Okay, now it's starting to spread, so I got to rinse out my brush, dab out my brush, get this stuff out of it, and I'm going to suck this extra up right here. Okay, so ooh, look at that, that's like, I like that, those little dots there with those. This one has a little bit of these little more orangey areas that we see, which is kind of like these ones over here, right? So we have a little bit of combo of some of those things, effects happening with those. And I do have a pretty big brush that I'm utilizing on that one. This is red, I'm just wondering. That's not bad. I can live with that. And then over here I wanted maybe a few little red dots as well. That'll add a nice contrast for what we're trying to do. Okay. All right. So I think I gotta touch these, see if they're dry enough. They appear to be dry. I'm gonna go with same brush, and so this time within that area, I need to see how I want yellow. I got some yellow, and so now back over here. This is where I'm gonna leave a little bit of a yellow line right on the side, and then I'm do the same thing over here. A little bit of a yellow line right on the side. Now you can't see it because, hey, I'm using yellow paint. That's cool. But I still want to do a little bit of wet into wet thing. So now I'm going to put, but I want some of that yellow to show through too. I need it to be kind of textured. And so I'm putting my preliminary dabs of orange, right? Maybe I'm getting a little carried away here. So that's made it mostly orange. But I do have that little, I want that little thin ribbon of yellow right along the side here. And you can see it right up over here a little bit more. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm just going to make some little sections here where I'm pulling out the pigment and just some little lines here. Okay, to add texture to it. So I'm dabbing off my brush, right? And I'm putting a little bit of mottled texture in there. So that's kind of cool. Alright, and so let's do the same thing, and that's setting up just a little bit. I'm going to come in with just a little bit of yellow over here. And then a little bit of yellow. I need to leave a thin ribbon of yellow right along the side, like that. And then I wanted to put in little bits of orange. The other one was a little bit more aggressive than what I wanted because the paper was a little bit too wet still. So that's more what I was looking for on that other one. A little bit more moving, a little more wet into wet. And so that's cool. Here's a little bit of yellow. Wet into wet. Since this is back here, I can kind of experiment with what it's doing. Ah! It left me. It abandoned me. Okay, so thank you for bringing that to my attention. We lost our video for the classroom here. Hold on a second. Connected. Magic is about to happen. That's good. Oh, we're back. Thank heavens. That was kind of funny. Okay, so here's some yellow. I wanted some more yellow in here too, so I'm going to just kind of dab a little bit of yellow. This is kind of in the wet dry area, right? It's not going to spread too far. So now I'm getting some value and some color change in here a little bit. And a little bit of fleck of paper. And now you can see the little yellow part, right? That little yellow, well, maybe you can see the little yellow part. I can see the little yellow part right here off to the side. That's kind of cool. And then this is becoming a little bit more of an edge on what we're looking for too, right up against the orange peel. Wasn't that cool? Well, yeah, I thought so. And so now I want to let it dry. Our last little bits we're going to put on there, we'll probably be able to put some sectioned pieces on there as well, where we start to see those orange nodules or whatever are in there. I suppose. Since I can go in here now, right? I can go up to, but not into the thin yellow area. This is where it's going to start to show a little bit more. And we, like I said, we've been utilizing the idea that while one part is drying, we can be working on the other part. Okay. This one appeared to be dry enough. And so I can go from here, since I just got that in there, I wanted to drop in just a little bit of oranges here and there. This is still really wet. So as I don't want this to go everywhere. I just wanted a few spots with that. And I think that's probably good. Let's go over here now to this piece. This one is coming in with a little bit more of an orange tint to it. Remember to leave that little light area right in between them. You can go right up to it, but don't go over it, so that you have a little bit of a light line between your sections. That goes all the way to the pencil mark. That goes all the way to the pencil mark. And then this has to come all the way up here. And I think what I want here is, this is yellow. And I want to put some yellows in here too, so that I have some varieties. So since I have yellow on here, I'm going to put some yellows in this one too. And mostly going radial out. Clean off my brush, come back, little bits of oranges. Kind of like that. Over here, little bits of oranges. We can let that dry. So now we're starting to see a little bit more of those line things between there. This is just the tip of the brush, bulking up that darker value right there. Darker value right along the edge. So that we start to see a little bit of the light area between. That's what our goal was, right, on our initial application with those. Now that's still really yellow, but I put some of the oranges in there, and so that's kind of cool. I need to look at this and see what I have happening here. What makes our lines in the individual sections is we're looking at this painting or this picture here. It looks like I have kind of some darker areas that have a little bit of light around them to designate the sections, much like the orange section itself has light around it. That there's some little pieces that are in there that we're going to have to deal with. I think I want to let this dry a little bit more first, though, huh? We don't want to be jumping in there when it's still wet. Okay, so that's a good preliminary coat on what we're going to do. And then as we come back in, I do have to let it dry. Then I'm going to come back in and put in a slightly darker value of orange on top of those. It has some good mottled texture in there, so we see some lights and darks of our oranges. And then we'll start to get the sections in there and just on our next application. But I think that's probably pretty good for our initial application of those and a review of our rinds and stuff. Obviously from here I'd go on, I might do this one here next, or I'd do this one and get all these orange peels taken care of with those.